Hello, friends, and welcome back to another episode of the Juicebox Podcast. Body grief is the sense of loss and mourning that comes with living in an ever-changing body. And in this new series with myself and Erika Forsyth, we're going to talk all about it. If you're looking for community around type 1 diabetes, check out the Juicebox Podcast private Facebook group, Juicebox Podcast, Type 1 Diabetes. But everybody is welcome. Type 1, Type 2, gestational, loved ones, it doesn't matter to me. If you're impacted by diabetes and you're looking for support, comfort, or community, check out Juicebox Podcast, Type 1 Diabetes on Facebook. While you're listening, please remember that nothing you hear on the Juicebox Podcast should be considered advice, medical or otherwise. Always consult a physician before making any changes to your healthcare plan or becoming bold with insulin. Today's podcast episode is sponsored by Medtronic Diabetes, who is making life with diabetes easier with the MiniMed 780G system and their new sensor options, which include the Instinct sensor made by Abbott. Would you like to unleash the full potential of the MiniMed 780G system? You can do that at my link, medtronicdiabetes.com/juicebox. Today's episode is also sponsored by the Contour NextGen blood glucose meter. Learn more and get started today at contournext.com/juicebox. Jump right in, Erika. Tell me what we're doing today.
Hi, we are going to move on to stage 5, which is fight in our body grief series. As we say every time, they're not linear, even though we're discussing them in a numerical linear fashion, and sourcing this information from Jane Mattingling's book. This is Body Grief.
Okay, well, what does fight mean? I'm going to beat this thing.
Yes.
Tell me more.
Okay, so fight is exactly what you said. We kind of get into this mindset that I'm going to beat this thing. We often hear, we'll get into the, I'm a T1D or diabetic warrior. We often are in this stage when we're feeling powerless, perhaps, and we are wanting to regain, kind of take back some of that control that we feel like it's out of control. And again, this can happen most certainly after diagnosis, but at any point in our journey with diabetes. And often you might find yourself in the fight stage when you've kind of run out of all the other options, right? Like you've been in dismissal or denial, you've been in shock, you've tried to maybe apologize your way out of of what you're feeling from the body grief, and then you land in, okay, I'm going to beat this thing. And again, as we talk about it, you'll hear probably both of us go back and forth between like, that's not necessarily a bad thing. Mm-hmm. All the time to be in this, I can do it all.
Right.
But what we're going to kind of maybe hopefully piece out is noticing when is it maybe problematic.
Okay. When is it, I want to wait to hear because I was going to say something, but I'd like to go a little farther first. All right. Keep going, please.
So what does it look like when you're in the fight stage? You are ignoring and overriding any cues that your body is giving you that you're in pain. And obviously when I say pain, it could be physical pain, right? Because this could also, even though we're applying these stages through and looking at them through the lens of living with diabetes, but you could also think about it through any other issue, injury, surgery, anything that's going on in your body, right? So you might be having extreme emotional dysregulation. You're angry, you're sad, you're happy, you might have some physical cues that your body is giving you that you're in fight. Maybe you're having heart racing, your thought is racing, maybe you're feeling anxious. You might have kind of those warm, like hot flashes, but not necessarily just because you're in maybe that stage of life. Your nervous system, you're irritable. You're just quick to easily angered, easily irritated. So you're having all those experiences physically and emotionally in your body, and yet you're trying to push through it and you're keeping it all together, right? So you're still like, I'm feeling all these things, but I'm going to ignore them and I can do this.
Right.
Okay, again, there are times when that probably is helpful, but
Yep.
there are times when that's detrimental.
Tell me how it is detrimental when it is.
Okay. You are ignoring, right, that your body is giving you these cues and these signs that you're not okay. Sometimes when you're ignoring that repeatedly and trying to push it away and say, I'm fine, I'm going to keep it all together. I don't want to be perceived as weak. I don't want to be perceived that this diabetes thing has got me. I'm going to be stronger than that. It's those emotions and those feelings are going to come out in other areas of your life.
It's almost the equivalent of just kind of running on adrenaline until it's gone, and then you realize your leg's broke and you fall over. That kind of an idea?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So maybe at times you do need to be in the fight stage and like, okay, I got to do this thing. I got to work through this. But we're talking about like, this is, you're in repeatedly, consecutively in this fight stage and ignoring all these other signs that your body's giving you that you're in pain.
And this can be physical, emotional, all kinds of different pain, right?
Yes. So you also might notice if you're ignoring all these cues when somebody makes a comment or they're trying to maybe even be kind. And we've talked about this before, where they might ask a question that they're trying to be kind and considerate, but it just lands as very ignorant. Mm-hmm. You don't have to be in fight stage to be triggered by that, but it also, if you are constantly and consistently noticing that you're just set off so easily by anything, right, whether you're reading it online or you're seeing a commercial or a personal comment from a friend and you just want to lash out, that could be a sign that you are in this fight stage.
Okay. Yeah, I never understand. This makes it clear for me when people get upset, like a late night host makes a joke or something, and they're just upset for days afterwards. I was like, I mean, it's it may be ham-fisted or even ill-advised, but you're really upset. You're not going to change. You know what I mean? Like it's not a thing you can impact really. So if you have all this pain and you're stuffing it down, you're trying to ignore it because you feel like I can beat what's happening to me. Like the thing my body's trying to do to me is not as strong as my will to resist it. Is that the idea?
Yes, that is certainly one of the ideas. Okay. So kind of we're looking at all the possibilities that's driving this behavior, whether you're conscious of it or not, right? I think there's I'm going to beat this thing because I don't want it to beat me. There could be this kind of the public perception. You're concerned and not wanting to be perceived as weak and letting this, bring you down. And we get affirmed by this all the time, right? Like, you're so strong. How do you manage? How do you do all these things while living with a chronic illness, while living with diabetes? And that's great. That feels good. But if you are ignoring all of these cues that your body is giving you emotionally, physically, that's just not sustainable, right? Yeah. If you're kind of living, if that's your goal.
And if it's not life. True, right? If it's just, it's just what you're presenting, then it's really not sustainable at that point because that is the ill-advised side of fake it till you make it. You can't. Yes. Yeah. You can't fake some things. You can't just pretend don't exist. So when they do exist, I imagine we're getting to this, but like when they do exist, you have to stop, address them, get those things in order, and then you won't even have the need to fight. You can put that fight into something more productive, I would imagine, after that.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. We were going to
get to that.
Get into that.
All
yes.
Right. I'm sorry.
So also another kind of tangible example like what this might look like is, pushing through the lows or ignoring your alerts, right? Because there might be times where you feel like you need to or have to, but we're talking about kind of this consistent, like, I'm going to fight through this. I'm going to push through. I don't need to address this.
Saying you're going to fight through a low falling blood sugar is like getting shot and going, I'm not going to die. That's how you are. Yeah. Like something more powerful than your will is at play at that point.
That's right.
Yeah.
But there are times where perhaps you feel like, okay, I can't stop. It feels like you can't stop because you're going to either interrupt the thing that's happening, that you're like, whether you're in a meeting or a work environment or a classroom, or you feel like there might be other reasons why you feel like, okay, I can't eat right now. I can't treat it, or I don't want to inject. I don't want to. That might not be because you're in fight. There might be other reasons going on, such as apology, right? Like you might be embarrassed and not want to interrupt with the flow around you.
Yeah.
But there are, and I don't mean like pushing through a low, like not taking your treat, but like maybe you don't want to ask to stop the just conversation.
Something that's happening. Right.
And you're just,
You're being kind by like couching in that direction. But I've talked to a lot of people who really, they can't articulate why. They're just like, I just felt like I didn't want to do it, so I didn't. And I'll say, but your blood sugar was 55 and it was still dropping. Like, what happens after that, right? Like, why wouldn't you stop? And they don't really know. It's defiance. I don't know when your conscious decision starts and when your, being incapable of thinking begins as your blood sugar gets lower and lower too. But it does seem to go in that direction. Do you know what I mean? Like it starts with like a conscious, like, I don't want to do this and I'm not going to. And then at some point, your blood sugar gets so low, I mean, what I've witnessed on other people, that all of a sudden you can't make a good decision anymore. But you're already kind of locked into like, woo, I'm going to fight. I don't know, for Arden gets into that weird, ignores a low and says, I'll get it in a second. I'm too busy. I'm doing my homework. I'm doing this, right? And then she gets so low that it hits her thought process. The next thing that happens to her is this incredible apathy. Yo, man, if it kills me, whatever. It's almost like talking to a hippie.
That's the cognitive impairment.
That's the cognitive impairment. Because does that happen to you?
Oh, of course. Yeah.
You're like, it's going to be all right, baby.
I try not to let it get to that point, but when it gets to that point, it's hard. And that's when someone's like, here, you need to eat this thing right now.
Yeah. Because then you're impaired, like at that point, right? And then under that impairment exists your inability to help yourself one way or the other. And then, the rest. So I'm sorry, but it feels like important to talk about like that.
And there's so many reasons, like when you feel low or you see you're low. I mean, there's so many reasons why you might not automatically treat, right? Whether you just brushed your teeth, you don't feel like it, you're tired, you're not hungry, you're so over it. You're like, oh no, I'm gonna hope what's that?
I've had one too many gummy bears in my life.
Yeah.
Right.
Or like maybe my pump will, if you're on an AID, maybe my pump will catch it.
Yeah. It's gonna catch. It's gonna catch.
Yeah. And you're kind of like, I'm comfortable in this chair. I don't want to have to get up.
So if I send Arden a text that says, hey, I see a low coming, it's going to happen. Like if you do something right now, it'll never come to terms. We're almost pre-bolusing those pushbacks from her. And me telling her it's coming, like this allows her the autonomy to go through that process you just described. It occurs to me that there are not a lot of things in life that if you ignore them, they in minutes can turn into such a dire situation that almost feels unfair. Like unfair. I think I don't like to say things are unfair all the time, but like that really is unfair. Like you don't even have time to have your feelings about something before the unseen force takes over and now it's beyond your control at that point. Am I making sense about that? Like 1 minute you're like a thinking, feeling person trying to be like, damn it, I want to fight this. And then 5 minutes goes by and, you're basically drunk at that point. You know what I mean? Sucks.
Yes.
That's all.
The timing is it's important.
Quick,
it's significant.
Quick. Yeah. Like you're you and then you're not.
Yes.
But you're still in the same problem. And you still think you're having a cogent conversation with yourself about it, and you're not anymore. The Contour NextGen blood glucose meter is sponsoring this episode of the Juicebox Podcast, and it's entirely possible that it is less expensive in cash than you're paying right now for your meter through your insurance company. That's right. If you go to my link, contournext.com/juicebox, you're going to find links to Walmart, Amazon, Walgreens, CVS, Rite Aid, Kroger, and Meijer. You could be paying more right now through your insurance for your test strips and meter than you would pay through my link for the Contour NextGen and Contour Next test strips in cash. What am I saying? My link may be cheaper out of your pocket than you're paying right now, even with your insurance. And I don't know what meter you have right now. I can't say that. But what I can say for sure is that the Contour NextGen meter is accurate. It is reliable, and it is the meter that we've been using for years. ContourNext.com/Juicebox. And if you already have a Contour meter and you're buying test strips, doing so through the Juicebox Podcast link will help to support the show. Unlike other systems that will wait until your blood sugar is 180 before delivering corrections, the MiniMed 780G system is the only system with meal detection technology that automatically detects rising sugar levels and delivers more insulin as needed to help keep your sugar levels in range, even if you're not a perfect carb counter. Today's episode of the Juicebox Podcast is sponsored by Medtronic Diabetes and their MiniMed 780G system, which gives you real choices because the MiniMed 780G system works with the Instinct sensor made by Abbott, as well as the Simplera Sync and Guardian 4 sensors, giving you options. The Instinct sensor is the longest wear sensor yet, lasting 15 days and designed exclusively for the MiniMed 780G. And don't forget, Medtronic Diabetes makes technology accessible for you with comprehensive insurance support, programs to help you with your out-of-pocket costs, or switching from other pump and CGM systems. Learn more and get started today with my link, medtronicdiabetes.com/juicebox.
Yes. And then it becomes even more complex, right? And complicated. And I wouldn't even call it, Jane, the author, sometimes says that just that fight leans heavily on dismissal or denial, right? Like, I don't want to follow this treatment plan. But I wouldn't even, it's not necessarily even denial when you're like, okay, I see my arrow going down. It could be for a moment, or in a particular situation, I was like, I just don't want to deal with this again. It could be, just exhaustion and you're so over it. You don't want to have to treat it again.
I'm going to tell you that I've been having thoughts lately around the process that people go through when they're diagnosed, whether it's them or it's a child, right? Or somebody they care about. In the beginning, you are really struck with this idea of like all the bad things that may happen over the decades that are coming. I'm going to do something to stop them from happening, or I'm going to minimize them, or we'll avoid them somehow. And I have to tell you, the longer that I live in this ecosystem with people who have type 1 diabetes, the more I think all of this is going to happen. It's really not about trying to stop it from happening. It's about navigating it and experiencing it and getting past it and moving on. It's unfair, right? That you're going to deal with a lot of things as a type 1 you already have, right? That a lot of people aren't going to be asked to deal with. But I don't think there's avoiding it. Like you can avoid it by avoiding taking care of yourself and having such poor health that none of it matters. But I just don't think you're getting around this. I think this thing we're talking about right now, I would imagine that on some level, at some point, everyone is going to feel this way. You know what I mean? Around diabetes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Or anyone, with or without diabetes, because you have a body. That's like the whole theme, right? Thesis.
My knee hurt really badly a couple of years ago. I went to the guy and he's like, oh, you got some arthritis on the inside here. We'll clean it out. It cleans it all out. He says to me, like, you're going to need a knee replacement one day. I was like, awesome. And then he goes, or not, I don't know. And I'm like, awesome. But it's starting to get sore again in the same way it did before they cleaned it out. It's not life or death. My blood sugar is getting really low. I have to make a great decision right now or something bad's going to happen. But I think I'm going through the same process, just much more slowly. So anytime your body fails you, not that this isn't what we've been saying the whole time, but anytime your body fails you, you're going through this process, whether you realize it or not.
100%.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And it's about not trying to avoid it, but as you were saying, feeling your way through it. You can't get like onto the other side without processing and being, feeling these feelings and honoring them.
This is the ride.
This is the ride.
Yeah, this is the ride. Like there's not a different ride out there that you're not involved in or that you're trying to get to. Like, this is it. You're born, your cells multiply, you get bigger, they start to go the other way. This is just it. You're just watching it happen more quickly when you have type 1.
Yes, or perhaps another
or other issues.
Chronic illness. Oh, yeah. But also when you get a cold or when you have to face a knee surgery.
Right. Yeah. Super
Yes.
simple way to think about it. But like you're okay. And then suddenly you are not. And you don't get to pretend you're not. That's not how it works. But we do it because, what we talked about last time, right? Like, people are trying to move through the world. The ones that sit down and give up die. So you got to keep going. But we're not really in that. It's not the world we live in anymore, too. You know what I mean? It's not like if you can't get up, the wagon train's going to leave you behind and a coyote's going to eat your face. Like that's, that is what would happen, by the way. Can you imagine your last moments? Are you with a 6-shooter in a field thinking like, well, I can get 5 of these things and I'll save the 6th one for me? Like, no kidding, right? Just trying to get to Arkansas? It's not fair. Oh my gosh. That's not fair, Erika. Now you get in your car, you tell it where to go, it drives you there.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
But I'm joking, but I'm not. This is really, it's been really super interesting. I know we're not done the conversation yet, but I've been really happy that we're talking about all this. But I've stopped you. Go ahead and move forward.
No, it's good. It's good.
Thank you.
Good pause. So when we're in fight, I think it might look and feel differently when someone asks you the question, "How are you doing?" We might avoid answering that question because you might want to say, "Oh, I'm doing great," because you're overworking, you're overscheduling, you're trying to prove that this diabetes isn't going to bring you down. And it truly might not, right? Like, again, that's okay in a healthy place to be in, but also noticing if you're like, "Oh, I'm fine. I'm going to beat this thing. It's not going to bring me down." But underneath, your heart is racing. You're feeling awful. You're irritable. You're sad all the time. Noticing, okay, maybe am I using this fight messaging to try and prove that I'm okay, but really I'm not inside. Also, you might avoid or dodge the question, "How are you doing?" because of all of the things we've talked about in the prior stages of we just don't want to go down that road of trying to explain what it is. We've dealt with the misconceptions and the stigma. And so fight might be, okay, I've got this thing, I'm doing great. But really we're like, that was an ignorant question. I don't want to have to try and explain it. I'm exhausted. And whatever I say to you, you aren't maybe going to fully understand it anyway. So I'm going to stay in. I'm fine. This is great. I got it.
Yeah.
This, it's not going to beat me down.
It's like wanting to explain your political position online. Yeah. Right. Like you're like, it doesn't matter how long we sit here and talk. I'm not going to get how I feel across you. You're never going to understand the way I feel. And we're all just going to leave irritated.
Which is why, speaking from one type 1 to another, there's so much value in that because you don't have to explain.
Yeah.
And you can be vulnerable without having to justify, or you don't have to present as, I've got it all together.
I've seen it like, I've said, we did it on the cruise ship. We did it. I always had Friends for Life. Like just everybody comes in a room and whatever that vibrating is behind everybody's eyes just feels like it goes away. It's really, really wonderful. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I think there also might be, again, we're just wanting to encourage noticing the why. Like, why are you in this? Why are you either answering it this way, the question, "How are you doing?" Why are you feeling this way? And none of being in fight necessarily isn't wrong, right? I really want to be clear with that, because we have to be warriors to keep going. And
it's a bigger picture. Like I keep hearing you, I know you don't want people to feel like you're saying like, "Hey, there's nothing wrong with fighting back." But like, I think they're two different understandings of the same concept. Like there's nothing wrong fighting back a little bit, not giving up and everything. That's one thing. But when you need to ask for help because you are 5 seconds away from running out of adrenaline and falling over, that's not the time to be fighting anymore. Now you got to look at yourself and say, why have I continued to fight beyond my ability to overcome this situation to my own detriment? This is going to end with me slumped over here. Like, why am I not stopping? That's what you want to say, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes. That was an excellent, yes, your reflection and summary. What is driving that behavior?
Yeah.
Is an element of it also fear, right? Are you fearful that your body won't be able to perform or act or in your workplace, in your relationships, the way you want it to be? And sometimes that fear can also lead to this need for perfection.
Mm-hmm.
With diabetes, whether it looks like I need to have straight lines because then that makes me feel like I'm in control. Do I need to have 99% time in tight range? Again, those things, I'm not saying those things are wrong, but noticing what is driving that need for either perfection or performance. Is it making you feel like you're in control? And to a degree, it might be.
Yeah. And maybe there's times when that's important too.
That's right.
Maybe there are times when you are going to fake it a little bit and, lean on, look, I kept my graph perfectly. I'm doing well. It gives you some, gives you a little self-confidence, maybe a little energy to move forward a little bit. But there's just nothing wrong with saying I need help or this isn't going well and that's okay or anything in that space too.
Yes. And also, like we've talked about before, when the messaging, which also I had as a child from my parents of like, you are a warrior, you've got this, don't let this get in the way of your goals. That is 100% a beautiful message. And you also get to have space to say, this sucks, I hate diabetes, I don't want this. But I know I still can work towards my goals, but I also kind of hate it sometimes.
I've always said
that was a really oversimplification.
But I've always said to people I get why you say that to your kids, but at the same time, you're so brave. You're so brave. My kids are so brave. And that's not true. Of course it's true. But also people don't want to be brave. It's not, they don't wake up in the morning and go, oh, I hope I am faced with so much turmoil that my only choice is to be brave today. And when you're telling them that, I think you're you could be reminding them that their life is such that they have to be brave while other people are walking around, smoking a fatty and playing video games and they're off having to be brave. They're like, this isn't fair. I don't want this. Also, I don't want to be brave. I'm not looking to be brave. I'm trying to live a normal life here. I keep hearing you say it I feel it too. It is a really nice message. You're a warrior. You can do it. That's great. Except on the day where I don't want to be treated that way. And then when you tell that to me, what I hear is my life sucks. That's kind of the balance. And I don't know how you figure out when's when.
Yes, or having those feelings that, okay, I can be a warrior, I can achieve my goals, I can play on these sports teams, I can show up and get good grades in my classes, but also is it okay to have these quote unquote negative feelings towards diabetes? I think we want to just, give that permission to feel all of the feelings towards it. And sometimes when you're bombarded with that message of you're a brave warrior, it feels like maybe you're doing something wrong if you have that feeling.
There's the saying, right, about having sand held in your hands, right? Hold it too loosely, it remains where it is. Squeeze it too tightly, it trickles out through your fingers. That kind of whole idea that's acceptance, right? The open hand is acceptance.
That's right.
And squeezing it is, it's an attempt to control something, and that never works out. And to bring that back to this is you or your loved one has, whether they know it or not or care to or not, has a relationship with the fact that they have diabetes.
Yes.
Right. Or that their body is, if it's, something else that we're not talking about today, another issue where your body is sending you grief by not doing what it is you wanted to do or that you were promised it would do. Yeah. And so there's something there about there's something about the sand metaphor and the you're so brave that to me fits together, and they support each other. I don't know. I'm sorry, I can't bring the whole thought together. But anyway, think about that in your house and don't go too far in either direction. That's what I'm thinking. Does that make any sense?
Yes.
Did I just go down a weird rabbit hole?
No, it's so good. And I wish I want to make a beautiful connection to the sand and bravery. But I think the acceptance piece and holding, you're doing what you can to live a healthy life. So you're holding it, but if you're opening it up your hands too much, maybe that's when you're in the stages of, denial, or I'm sorry, I don't want to hold everything. So there's some responsibility in holding the sand, right? But then if you're squeezing it, trying to control it and manage it and shape it, and you're going to lose that sense of balance.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I'm not the right one to tell you about Taoism, but like, I think somewhere in there's a message.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know enough about it to talk about it. It's about control. And if you love something, what is it? If you love something, set it free. Right. Is that the idea? So there's something about the way you talk about those things to each other, to yourself, that holds a lot of power depending on where the person is in their situation. And that's the most difficult thing. Like I used to joke, remember, I've joked with you before. Like I said to my wife, if there was just a warning light on your head that told me what mood you were in, I think this would all be so much easier. The toughness here is when you're supporting yourself or a loved one with diabetes, you don't know where they're at when you deliver the "you're so brave" message. That's a difficulty of human communication. I don't know how to fix that. That's right. That's a podcast isn't going to help you with that.
Yeah, because basically it's, I know we're kind of going off tangent, but I think when you're telling somebody you are so brave, if they aren't feeling brave in the moment and they're feeling discouraged and just so in deep despair or grief, then it feels like that feeling is being dismissed.
It lands opposite. Yeah.
Yeah.
It lands opposite of how you mean it, and it lands opposite of how they could take it if they were in a different mind frame at that moment.
So it is this gentle balance, right? Because you're wanting to encourage, while simultaneously mirror and validate what they're feeling or what you're feeling. It's complicated.
Yeah, no, I have 2 children and a wife. I'm constantly looking for ways to make this. I figure it out right before I die. You know what I mean? Like I'll have like a big moment. I'll go, oh, I got it, and then I'll be gone. I don't know. I've thought about it a lot, and for people who used to say like, oh, the podcast will, once Arden starts taking care of herself, there'll be nothing left to talk about. There's a lot left to talk about. There's a lot of things I did over the years that if I was the person I am now, just like with everything else, I would have done it differently or not at all. But at the same time, if I didn't do the things that I did, we wouldn't have got to where we are. So, I think that's life's struggle in general, right? Like after you learn, you think, oh, I could do it better. But if you went back and did it better, what are the things you wouldn't have done that might have ended up being important that would have gotten skipped? There's no real right answer. Oh, geez.
Wow. Okay.
I'm sorry. Go back to your thing, Erika, before I jump out a window. Go ahead.
Oh my gosh. Okay. I would take a deep breath, and we are going to go into what can we do, like when you're noticing that you're in this fight stage of, I'm going to beat this thing, this is not going to bring me down, and your body is giving you other cues that you are not feeling very well physically, emotionally. So a lot of these tools are taken directly from the book, and these are actually tools that we've talked about before, but I like the labels that she uses. Okay, so noted practicing I am only human. And we're going to go through 5 different ways to do that. So taking a quote, planned rebellion, which in our, world could look like taking a technological, tech break from your CGM, from your pumps. If you're feeling like, I just can't do this anymore. Obviously with, the consultation of your doctor. And I think once you decide to either remove the pump or go into MDI, I think you can feel maybe you enjoy the benefits, but then it's hard to go back. And so I like to remind people, giving yourself permission to, if you're on a pump and you go to MDI and you feel like do I want to go back to a pump? Like go back for a day. But give yourself permission to switch back. Because I think so often when we feel like we feel trapped in a lot of ways, we do have some options in terms of how we manage, and giving yourself permission and freedom to make those choices is really important.
This first one, I won't stay here long with it, but it made me feel very good for Arden because I see her make those little rebellions. Like her CGM, like timed out yesterday. I know some of you think that, some of you talk about how your CGM doesn't last very long, and I'm not bragging here. Obviously, it'd be a weird thing to brag about, but Arden's usually goes, full 10 days, 12 hours. There's that loud beep that says like, hey, you did it. You rode me as far as I can go. Like this is done now. And she just sort of sits there and doesn't do anything about it. Sometimes for a half an hour, and then eventually she's doing something. She's making homework or she's studying or watching television or something. Then she'll just sort of get up and put another one on. And I used to talk to her about like, hey, if you put it on now, then when that one fails, this one will already be on, or like when we get to the end. And then it just hit me in the last year. I was like, she's doing this on purpose. Like this is her own little planned rebellion. I didn't put them in those words, but that's what she was doing. She was taking a moment and saying, I know I need this thing and it helps me a lot, but I am just going to make a conscious decision not to wear it, even if it's just for a half an hour or so. Yeah, cool. All right.
And it's okay. Yeah.
It's not just okay. I think it's valuable.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you. Yes. Okay. The next one is called the unicorn complex, which is in the way she defines it is I'm stronger than other people. I will fight this thing. Or, I'm going to nail this 100% time in tight range, 4 point something A1C. Nothing wrong with that, but noticing what is underneath some of those thoughts and behaviors. And so noticing, okay, we are not unicorns, we are humans. And one way, if you feel like you're trapped in that mindset of just like, I have to get this right, I have to be straight lined or whatever it may be, to interrupt some of that thought process is to find some moments of gratitude. And maybe that can be as simple as my body woke itself up from a low, or I woke up, or I'm grateful for clean water. I'm grateful for clean air, or perhaps I'm grateful that my time in range went up by a half a point, or I'm grateful that my time in range went down and I'm not going to shame myself or beat myself up for that. So just acknowledging the humanness and finding small or big things in which you can be grateful for.
I can see where this unicorn complex in certain disease states, if I'm in the last year of a cancer battle, then this is where I think this is where my mind should be, right? But with diabetes type 1, or other issues, it's not always, first and goal. And if we let them in, the game's over. But it can feel like that. And that I think is important to not constantly be in this, like, this is do or die every 5 seconds. You know what I mean?
Yes. And it's just as hard as it is to get out of that mindset, it can be really easy to get into that, right? Depending on your messaging, your own internal narrative, what you're exposing your mind and body to. And so it's so easy for us in the diabetes world to get caught up in that.
It's not, I do see a lot of people who feel like it's always do or die. Everything we're doing is just absolutely, this is it right here. Every 5 seconds, they think they're in their last stand. It just occurred to me that I don't know what Arden's blood sugar is, and I haven't known for a really long time. So I brought it up because she's taking a final right now. Her blood sugar is 143. I hope that helps people to know that, like, I haven't known what her blood sugar has been since, I don't know, like 7 o'clock this morning when I heard a beep and I was like, I wonder what that is. And it dipped under 70 for a minute. But this 9 hours
were there times
later,
maybe when you were
oh my God,
looking at it?
Yeah. No, I mean, there's times when I lived my whole life thinking that, like, every second she was about to die. There's stories all over the podcast about where I had my little lessons along the way and, what technology has been helpful and not. But I guess what I'm saying is, again, like earlier, is this, you're all going to go through this. Like, nobody's not going to go through this. You're either going to go through it or you're going to ignore it. And it's going to bother you in the back of your brain for the rest of your life, one or the other. It's not about avoiding it. It's about seeing it and finding a way, whether it's through community support, someone in your family, something you read online, a book. It doesn't matter to me, like, where you figure it out, where you can look at the problem and say, okay, this is not a thing that needs my attention all the time. We're going to be okay if we're not talking about this every second of the day. Let's move on, find out what the next thing is, and get past that.
Yes.
That just seems to be how it feels to me.
Yes. Okay. This next one is kind of what I think you were alluding to when we first started chatting, the choosing your battles. So learning and understanding when to fight and accept what you need instead of fighting within yourself. So this might look like, asking for accommodations in the schools, in your workplace, in your family system, as opposed to, I'm just going to push through. I'm not going to make them wait. I'm going to go do my thing. this is kind of coming out from that apology stage where you're like, I'm sorry, I need to go do this. Please don't,
Yeah.
And I have a quote here. It's fairly long, so I don't know if I need to read it or not.
Do you want to?
Should I go for it?
Yeah, right.
Okay. So this is, I don't know who this person is, who wrote this with. I was talking about body grief casually with a colleague, and she holds in-person meetups for type 1s, grown-up T1Ds. And she sent me this quote from someone who went to the meetup, and I thought, oh my gosh, this is exactly, choosing your battles and building body trust. After the meetup, not only did I feel so much better about the decision to get surgery, but I also felt better about taking medical leave for more than a few days for it, to really allow myself to care for my diabetes and allow it to impact my life instead of focusing so hard on trying to ignore that I'm chronically ill. It's a lesson that I'm working on, that sometimes strength and being a warrior means fighting for rest and self-care instead of fighting with myself to avoid being different than people who don't have disabilities. Yeah. So I just love that. Like, she's fighting for her time off. She's fighting, and fighting to take care of herself, fighting to acknowledge that she might need more time to recover because of her diabetes or whatever it may be. And so I just want us to kind of consider being a T1D warrior. I think we automatically think, pushing through, fighting for it, don't let it get in the way, but also it might mean fighting for that extra day off, right? Or whatever the lesson or example may be.
Yeah, live in the reality of your situation too. Mm-hmm. Not to I just had a procedure maybe 9 days ago, and I remember saying to the doctor, like, when will I feel better? He goes, you'll be up and moving the next day, you'll be sore and stuff like that. And in my mind, I'm like, so I'll just be fine the next day. And then when I wasn't, instead of fighting it, I was like, I'm not. So I'll just take it easy. And I didn't want to take Advil afterwards, but I did. I was like, all right, it turns out I need this. And I think when I was younger, I'm trying to decide as we're talking, was I stronger and therefore more able to ignore the situation, even though I was going through it? And now that I'm older, I can't ignore it? Or is this a maturity thing? And back then I was just being immature about it, and now I'm being more mature. I can't decide which it is exactly. I don't think I'm going to know ever, but that's my wonderment, is like, is this maturity, or is it a physical inability? And I don't think it matters one way or the other. I think I'm handling it better now than I would have in the past.
Yeah, that's a great example. And I think just noticing the why, right? Again, going back to, okay, why am I pushing through? Am I not taking more time off because I'm worried about how people are going to perceive me? Is it a stigma thing? Is it I have more physical endurance so I can?
Yeah.
What is it? Or is it, I need more time and I'm going to take it, and that's okay.
Yeah, and it's hard to say, but if your job, for example, doesn't want to give you time, maybe that's not the right job for you. You know what I mean? Like, if your friends don't want to be supportive a little longer, maybe those aren't the right friends. And I know that's a hard thing to say, because at the end of those sentences, you're alone or broke or whatever. Mm-hmm. You won't be alone or broke in your heart and in your day-to-day existence. And there's trade-offs in there. I'd rather you feel centered and cared for personally than, don't get me wrong. Like, if once or twice you got to tough it out and go to work when you're sick or something like that, like, it is what it is. But like, not if it's pervasive over your entire life. That's different,
Creeping into, the boundary setting, right? Like what it looks like and feels like for honoring what you need, and how that might create discomfort for other people or your company.
And I would say too, for people who maybe, because you're a very kind person. You're well educated. We don't talk about it enough, but you are.
Thank you.
What did you just say? You just said what did you say? Sometimes you say making space, or what did you just say?
Boundary setting.
Boundary setting. Yeah. Let me put this another way for people who that is uncomfortable for, because they're like, that's therapy talk. Just tell people to go to hell. Okay. Like,
that is not what I'm saying.
That's not what she said. That's what I'm saying.
No. Okay.
You call your job up and you say, listen, go fuck yourself. Okay. I'll be back on Wednesday and you'll live with it. And I do a good job here, and I've been here for 4 years, and cut me a break. My thing don't work. That's it. And I don't want to hear about it.
Let it be known that, yes, that is Scott's coping skill, not, yes. That's
You would say set
practical.
boundaries. That's nice. I would say maybe once in a while, you got to tell people to shut up. I'm over here trying to deal with a thing. Listen, my brother got sick a month ago, and I've told I don't want to overwhelm it, but he was hiding it a little bit from me. Like, we talk pretty frequently. It's his wife that stepped up and said, "Hey, he doesn't feel well. He doesn't want to tell you." I got him right on the phone. I was like, "What's this going on? What are we, 5? What's wrong?" And he explains to me what's going on. And I was like, where are they at? And he explains what the doctor says. I said, "That's not right." I was like, "I think this is what's going on with you." And over the next couple of days, remote controlled from halfway across the country, moved him through some situations, some doctor's appointments, got him where he needs to be. And one of the last steps was people are gonna like, "Oh my God, you're out of your mind." I didn't make him. I asked him. He called his doctor's office, gave them permission for me to speak to them. I got on the phone with the nurse. I went over the entire thing. Not that my brother's not capable. My brother was at that moment on a factory floor running a giant press so that you guys all have something out in the world that you buy all the time. He couldn't not go to work. He had to go. He was sick. He was really in trouble. Terrible joint pain, run down, really in a bad way. I texted him. I said, "I got you a doctor's appointment. I need you to leave work and go to this appointment. You have to take this appointment. It's the only one they have." He says, "I can't leave work." I was like, "Yes, you can." I was like, "Get out of there." I was like, "You cannot afford not to leave work. Just leave." So he worked it out. He left. By the way, he filled out some paperwork. He got some short-term FMLA. He got paid for it. It all worked out fine. But that is not why I'm telling you the story. I'm telling you the story because we have a group chat, my brothers and I, and he said, "I haven't had any pain for a week now. I'm really starting to feel better. I got my FMLA. That worked out. I really appreciate everything you did for me. I would definitely still be in pain if you weren't involved."
Aww.
I'm telling you that because he wasn't capable. He was capable of handling the situation. He wasn't capable of, I'm going to use your word, of creating boundaries in places during the situation where he needed them. So because he wouldn't set a boundary at work, because he wouldn't set a boundary with the doctor and a couple of other places, they were stringing him along and leaving him in pain and telling him that what was true wasn't true.
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't know what's wrong with me. I stood up and I was like, "No, we're right. They're wrong. Push back." And he's like, "Well, I did. I said." I was like, No. And I got him on the phone and I just said to him, I'm like, "My brother clearly has an underlying infection." I was like, "Your doctor being afraid to give him the right medication, I don't care about this anymore." Because what had happened was the doctor pushed him off on the ER. The doctor didn't want to give him the antibiotic because he wasn't hitting the right markers, but it was clear what was wrong. So the doctor and sent him to the ER thinking the ER would do it. Well, the ER and sent him back to his doctor. So they started ping-ponging him back and forth. The doctor actually sent him back to an ER, the same ER, the second time. And later during conversation admitted to him, "I was just hoping they would give you the antibiotic. And so, because I'll get in trouble if I give it to you." And then finally, when he wrote the script, handed it to my brother, and at the end said, "I hope I don't get in trouble for this." And now Brian's fine. So nobody wanted to do the right thing for him. And if he wouldn't have set boundaries up, or somebody wouldn't have set boundaries up, I honestly don't know where he'd be at this point. So
Probably still in pain.
well, with an underlying infection that nobody and just because they couldn't find it. I mean, it was one of those things where it walked like a duck, quack like a duck, and everybody was like, I see a horse. It just was terrible. Anyway, I'm saying, based on what we're talking about here, choose your battles, yes, but when they're right to have them, and when they're not, don't torture yourself over them.
Yes. And he might have been, even prior to your involvement, might have been in some of these stages of body grief.
Oh, no. Yeah. I mean, if I go back in those texts, you're going to see, I can't believe I feel like this. I can't pick my head up.
Shock.
Cloudy. Yeah. I can't make decisions. I mean, look at him. He's lying to me about how he feels.
Dismissal.
His wife is scared to tell me because she sheepishly told me she didn't want to break his trust. You know what I mean? It's a lot of little human stuff that goes on. I'm sorry.
Yes.
I took you way off the course. Are we?
No, that's so. Yeah, fighting for what you need, right? Yeah. Whatever that looks like is also being aware. Okay, so practicing being human, noticing that envy might come up, right? As you are looking at graphs online or other social media posts, or even seeing pictures of people going on vacation, and you're having these thoughts of like, must be nice to go on a vacation and not have to you think about all of our supplies, et cetera. Or, they don't know how good they have it. They don't have a chronic illness. Or if only those were my numbers, then ... right? So noticing that envy is a natural human emotion. And sometimes it can be motivating, but it also can lead to a lot of shame. And it could also keep you in this fight mode, right? Because you're resentful, you're grieving, you're angry. And so it can keep you there. If that's what you're kind of filling your mind with, you're looking at images, hearing stories, and noticing these thoughts that are happening. So noticing what is going on as you think about this fight mode. Is there a component of envy in addition to all of it? And that is normal. That is okay. And acknowledging it, processing it.
Yeah. But it can keep you in the fight.
Yes.
So,
yes.
You have to, again, process it. You got to move past it at some point.
Yes. Okay. And the last one is, she coined this term, which I've never heard before. I don't know if you have, JOMO. It's like we know FOMO, right? Fear of missing out. Mm-hmm. But she uses this term JOMO, the joy of missing out. Noticing, are there times when you need to say no in order to take care of your body, instead of feeling like you have to say yes? And can you reframe that as like, gosh, you know what? I'm going to build this body trust. I'm going to give my body what it needs in order to trust my body. My body has to trust me that I'm going to take care of it. So I'm going to say no to some things that might be positive. And I'm thinking about, just events, but it could be something even smaller, where it's a way to be really kind to your body, and can that be experienced as joyful instead of fearful? I know it's a kind of a twist and a tweak on that phrase, but I really liked that way of thinking about it.
No, I'm glad you brought that up. The one thing that seems like it could be the most difficult around this is like figuring out the difference between a limitation that is genuinely limiting and you want to reach for some JOMO, and a limitation that is more about a blockade you've put up for yourself. And if you did push through, you'd get on the other side of it. Like that's a tough one, because I think this is, everybody's gone through that and everybody's known somebody going through it. Right. But I've got somebody in my life right now who's having a struggle, and part of it is completely legitimate. And part of it is a little self-sabotage too. How do you show them, no, this is real, but your response to it is keeping you there? And even if you show it to them, how do they believe it and move past it again? It's all very interesting. I appreciate the conversation.
I think that's a great point. And I think that maybe we don't want to go too deep into this at this point, but I think that the concept of, how do you respond to either a painful situation, diagnosis, whatever it may be that you're struggling with? I don't think anyone intentionally is choosing self-sabotage, but there's obviously, and I don't hear you suggesting that at all.
I just feel like this person's had so many struggles and so many failures that they just think that this is the reality now.
Yes.
And the fighting seems pointless, because everything keeps going wrong all the time. And what I see in this specific situation is a couple of decisions here or there made differently would have put them in a different situation. They might not feel like that anymore. But then that's, still not how it occurred to them at the time. And I can't stand next to them, or somebody else can't stand next to you all the time going, oh, is that what you thought? No, it's not left. It's right. I don't know. It's being alive is a lot of work. It really is.
It is. And we are going to get to, our hope is that at the end of each of these episodes, we are giving some tools to kind of work through the stage. And at the end, obviously focusing on cultivating, more hope, cultivating more body trust to help kind of work your way through all of the stages.
Yeah.
But it is hard. It is hard work.
I certainly hope that is what we're doing.
Yes.
So
hopefully.
Thank you very much for doing this with me. I really appreciate it. Scotty going on vacation. So I'll be back and we'll finish this up in a couple of weeks.
You're out.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'd like to remind you again about the MiniMed 780G automated insulin delivery system, which of course anticipates, adjusts, and corrects every 5 minutes, 24/7. It works around the clock so you can focus on what matters. The Juicebox community knows the importance of using technology to simplify managing diabetes. To learn more about how you can spend less time and effort managing your diabetes, visit my link, medtronicdiabetes.com/juicebox. Having an easy-to-use and accurate blood glucose meter is just one click away. contournext.com/juicebox. That's right, today's episode is sponsored by the Contour NextGen blood glucose meter. Hey, I'm dropping in to tell you about a small change being made to the Juice Cruise 2026 schedule. This adjustment was made by Celebrity Cruise Lines, not by me. Anyway, we're still going out on the Celebrity Beyond cruise ship, which is awesome. Check out the walkthrough video at juiceboxpodcast.com/juicecruise. The ship is awesome. It's still a 7-night cruise. It still leaves out of Miami on June 21st. Actually, most of this is the same. We leave Miami June 21st, head to Coco Cay in the Bahamas, but then we're going to San Juan, Puerto Rico instead of St. Thomas. After that, Bastiere, I think I'm saying that wrong, St. Kitts and Nevis. This place is gorgeous. Google it. I mean, you're probably going to have to go to my link to get the correct spelling because my pronunciation is so bad. But once you get the St. Kitts and you Google it, you're going to look and see a photo that says to you, oh, I want to go there. Come meet other people living with type 1 diabetes, from caregivers to children to adults. Last year, we had 100 people on our cruise, and it was fabulous. You can see pictures again at my link, juiceboxpodcast.com/juicecruise. You can see those pictures from last year there. The link also gives you an opportunity to register for the cruise or to contact Suzanne from Cruise Planners. She takes care of all the logistics. I'm just excited that I might see you there. It's a beautiful event for families, for singles, a wonderful opportunity to meet people, swap stories, make friendships, and learn. My Diabetes Pro Tip series is about cutting through the clutter of diabetes management to give you the straightforward, practical insights that truly make a difference. This series is all about mastering the fundamentals, whether it's the basics of insulin, dosing adjustments, or everyday management strategies that will empower you to take control. I'm joined by Jenny Smith, who is a diabetes educator with over 35 years of personal experience, and we break down complex concepts into simple, actionable tips. The Diabetes Pro Tip series runs between episode 1000 and 1025 in your podcast player, where you can listen to it at juiceboxpodcast.com by going up into the menu. Have a podcast? Want it to sound fantastic? WrongWayRecording.com.